right? He always wants you to see if there's something you want to play. And even the other day, she was still exciting, and then someone bought it. She goes, "Fine." I was like, "Yeah, doesn't matter how old you are, that's still funny."
Hi there, welcome to Season 1 of the CF Together podcast 2025. I'm your host, Raphael, and I too live with cystic fibrosis. CF is a genetic condition that affects almost 4,000 people. In all your cells, you have what's called the cystic fibrosis transmembrane regulator. What that does is regulate salt and water through the airways to clear out bacteria. In people with cystic fibrosis, that regulator doesn't work, leading to thick, sticky mucus buildup in the airways, lungs, and digestive system. Throughout each episode, you'll hear from members of the community, researchers, and clinicians. On this podcast, we want to keep you updated with the latest research, as well as stories and lived experience from our community to help you feel more connected and supported, whether you are living with CF or your loved one lives with CF. I'll also be sharing some of my own experiences, but my views are purely my own and not necessarily those of CF Together.
My name is Melissa Wakefield, and I'm the producer of the CF Together podcast. I'm the descendant of English migrants, and I call Australia home. I grew up on Boonwurrung country, and I'm inspired by their care for the natural waterways, which I've explored close to home. My role is to bring to life the stories of lived experiences from our CF community. In doing so, I pay homage to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people's rich history of storytelling. Here at CF Together, we acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation as the traditional custodians of the land on which our podcast is recorded. We pay our deepest respect to elders past and present and recognise their deep connection to land, waters and culture. We acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land.
The views in these episodes are not medical advice, and you should always follow the advice of your clinic team regarding your health. In many of the episodes, we talk about topics that you may find triggering. If you would like to speak to someone, please call the National CF Support Line on 1300 CF Help or email support@cftogether.org.au.
In today's episode, we'll be talking about IVF and fertility. In my personal experience, I can't have kids, and I don't know if I ever will. But today we'll be talking to James, who is married and has an 18-month-old daughter. We'll also be talking to Dave, who has a 6-week-old baby. I look forward to this conversation. So today we have James Matthews and Dave Patterson. And if you guys just want to introduce yourself briefly, starting with James, that'd be great.
So my name's James. I'm 34 years old, and I have CF. And I also have, thankfully to IVF, a daughter, little Lottie, who is just unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. She's our little miracle, and my partner and I, sounds so cliche and so whatever, but when you go through these certain experiences and what you have to do to get a child, you just count your blessings every single day. And you go to work to earn money just so you can fly home and hang out, and do whatever you can just to hang out with them, just because the fun little things they do, and just enjoy all those little moments for sure.
And I'm Davie. I'm from Western Sydney, originally Maryland, and spent my teens in the hills. I am an only child from my folks' marriage, and I have a half-sister to my dad's previous marriage. I'm a writer, and I was diagnosed with CF at birth. I'll be 40 in about 3 weeks. And I have a wife and 7 weeks now, a daughter as well, little Charlie.
That's fantastic. So good to see both of you guys at the age that you are and the experience that you've had, and both having kids. My brother and myself, obviously, both have CF as well. He just did IVF. My nephew is now 11. He did it in Iceland, and it was a pretty interesting experience for him. But I don't think I'll have kids, but it's so good to see, so many other CFers out there having kids. So I guess I'll just start off with a question, starting with you, James. So what is your background, and can you discuss your personal experience with fertility and IVF?
I'm one of 4 boys, poor mum, yes. But my second oldest brother also has cystic fibrosis. So, and he's got two kids. Yeah, a girl and a boy. So, I was lucky enough to be able to bounce off, everything they did going through their journeys. Obviously with the 2, but they also had a fair bit of trouble with getting there, and which is quite an emotional thing. They ended up, going down the Chinese medicine path. No dairy, no caffeine, no alcohol. The poor missus, she had to drink this dirt. We called it dirt. But it was just, to make sure that our bodies were completely back to natural. We went down the path of no phones in pockets, no deodorants, all completely natural. Everything you could possibly do. We're as fit, healthy, physically, mentally as you possibly could. Because we thought, you're going down this path, you don't know what's going to happen on the other end. Let's not have a go at it. Oh, yeah. And then I'll see what happens, and then we'll go from there. We thought, let's just go straight to the top. We saw one of the best doctors. It worked first go for us, which was really, really, really good. Yeah, even sort of our first meeting was pretty funny with the doctor, and he said, "I'm James and Davie. What can I do for you here?" And I was like, "Oh, we're trying to have a child and we're IVF." And he's like, "Righto, well, how can you're only here? You're only young." I said, "Well, we've been together for 10 years, not once used protection." "Yep, sweet. All right, you're IVF, let's go." So it was a bit of a funny one, but yeah, from that day, mate, our mindset and everything was just, we knew it was going to happen. I've obviously known my whole life, so we knew it was going to happen. You have to talk to the counsellors and things. And yeah, we were just like up and about, bubbly, and they're like, "Righto, yep, you guys are fine, let's go." So yeah, we were straight into it, and yeah, luckily enough, it works very well. And hopefully it works the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Nah, if they're all like the first one, maybe I don't care. We'll have as many as you can.
So what kind of support did you have from your team? Do you have a regular CF team, and, did you get the support and guidance?
This is why I love giving back so much, because I found it in myself such a breeze in a mental state going through all these sort of things, because I had my brother and his wife, because of, Jane and everyone down at the Monash in Clayton. It's, every time, they'll do anything for you, and they're always there to support you, help you, put you on the right track. Yeah, I've always had, obviously mum and dad as well. Our family's very close and very, very helpful for each other. And so the support that I've always had is probably one of the reasons why I have been able to be so open and happy throughout the whole journey, just because of the support I have had through both family, friends, and in the fair community.
It's amazing. So, Dave, thinking about those 2 questions, your journey with CF and the support, how did that all go for you?
Sort of similarly, it's really nice to hear actually that it worked first go. James and his wife, for us, it was really straightforward as well. And I think because that isn't often the case with IVF. It's not something we've really talked about or sort of celebrated publicly, that it's sort of, it was so straightforward. We visited Dr. Howard Smith at the Westmead Fertility Centre, and they checked for eggs and sperm respectively, which we had. We went through those procedures where they take them and then put them together. They called us to tell us that we had they said it was a perfect embryo, or it was Valentine's Day actually, and they said they called them a wedding ring embryo, the shape that they were in. And my wife underwent the implant procedure. I think it was 10 days we waited. And that was really the hardest part for us, was the waiting game. And then, we used one of the run-of-the-mill pregnancy sticks. And, it's sort of funny because it says to wait 3 minutes for your result. And it just was like instant. And it was like, just give me a minute, sort of. And then, my daughter Charlie was born at 39 weeks. yeah. And in terms of my
That's
team,
unreal.
I've got a great team at Westmead, and it was really just the introduction there because it was all within the same hospital, to Howard Smith and that fertility centre there, and everything was very easy in terms of getting those appointments.
You made me think that there's a question that's not here, but my brother told me about it, and that was the actual process of the extraction. Only if you're comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm guessing yours is the same as mine.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, because it's twice, right? They had to do it twice,
yeah.
once to test, and then
look, I don't know. I think you've got CF, so we've got pretty high pain thresholds. Knowing that my wife's got to go through a procedure as well, I was sort of like, well, mine will be the easy one. Actually, she was under a general for first.
Yeah. James' face right now looks like he's kind of re-experiencing something.
Oh, mate, like it's certainly experience. The funniest thing is that it's not the extraction; it's actually the numbing needle. It's the numbing needle. It's the first one that does it. And my doctor goes, here goes the worst bit. He did it, and then goes, I'm going for a cup of coffee. I'll be back. Well, what?
Right.
So he goes, it takes 10 minutes to kick in. So he literally went and had a cup of coffee while I sat there lying there, and then with talking to the other people, and then he comes back. How's that? Oh yeah, sweet. So then there was like, I hadn't had tests. I know, saying you had the test thing first, but mine was the first time was just to get it done. So they actually did the first one. We looked at it. Oh yeah, sweet, all good. They took it, they tested it, and while we're still lying there, they said, no, it's not there. Like, it's dead. So, well, so then they go again, and they did it again. He looked at it. He's like, no, that's dead again. So I'm lying on this table going, like, if this doesn't work right now, that's it. Like, that's completely it. So he's like, righto. So he went again, did another spot, taken it out, tested it, we're all good. And I was, oh my God, like just that part right there, like my partner's in the other room right now getting her eggs, and it might be no point. That was probably the scariest part right then. And then once they said it was all good, I'm like, oh, thank God. And then he said, James, you might be in a bit of pain because I've done it 3 times. So yeah, look like a blue balloon. But I will take that any day, and that is nothing compared to what the girls go through. So yeah,
do you think that process actually like brought you guys closer together because you had to experience some pain?
Yeah,
I think most couples should actually just do like IVF, so it's an equal balance.
My wife's family had said, no, we're actually glad to hear that you had to, that's good. You both went through the thing, that's about how it should be. But I had a similar moment, actually, just reminded me, because, you've got the little, the gown on, and they just paint you with the anesthetic. It's like bright orange, which just feels weird being, it's really cold and wet, just being painted.
Cold
and my wife was in the room as well. She'd already had her procedure, and they were doing the same sort of thing, looking, and sort of similar thing where it was the third time. That's really funny. And before they went the third time, he said, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try one more time, and if that fails, I'll basically be opening. We'll go have another procedure where we would open your testicles up. And at the same time, I said, okay, sure. And my wife said, absolutely not. So she's like, no, it's not. I'm not doing that just for a kid. So funny, I was like, oh, okay, sure. I would have done that. But they did, and the third time they sort of show them, you can see them on the screen, and they're in the microphone and then the microscope in the next room. You're sort of watching them on the big screen. And I'd gone over to the basin to sort of start washing myself off. I'm like holding the gown up, just washing myself off, and, turning around, looking at the big screen. And then they said, here they are. And they were all there, just all swimming. And I just had this like, yes moment. And the nurse just opened the door, and I just had my gown completely up, just flashing, and just like, so, yeah. I was like, sorry about that. Just sort of put that down. Yeah.
Bit of warning on that one before you do that. Come on.
They can.
Can they freeze sperm?
Yeah.
You think about like getting some more taken out for the future?
Well, we got 2 tubes in the freezer, plus another 12 embryos.
Yeah, we've got another couple embryos as well.
Yeah, so we were
not sure. We might be one and done.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's right.
Fair enough.
Right.
You're in that first 7-week journey.
A few months,
yeah. Everyone sort of says that. Yeah. In a year's time. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. These conversations gone way better than I actually thought. Like bringing all these topics, my brother was he's been telling me that I need to do it. You know, having a kid is just like the best thing. But we'll see. We'll see. What kind of actually, that was something I was thinking of. What kind of preparation advice were you given before all this process? Were you aware of the whole process, or was it kind of step by step?
Yeah,
through IVF?
I was pretty naive, to be honest. We sort of had this. Well, you know, we were really. I think because you're growing up with CF. I was told that I would never have kids growing up, and if it happened, it's a miracle. So don't even worry about it. And so I've really sort of put that so far in the rear view that it's never been a thing that I really wanted, because I thought, well, I won't, if I can't have it, then I'm not going to go out there thinking about wanting it. And so because of that, when I met my wife, when we talked about that, again, we sort of chalked that up as one of the things that we couldn't do. So it wasn't something that we've always like really just been mad for. And then after we got married, we talked about, should we try? Is this something we'd want to do? And we kind of both went into it with the mindset of, it's not going to be the be all and end all, and it's not going to destroy us if it doesn't work. We don't want to be, sort of just shattered and broken. If we go through this, this big journey, and it doesn't work at the end, we don't want to have nothing. We sort of, we've got other things. And so I don't know, that really helped. Yeah. Going through all the paces and all the steps, just going like, okay, yeah, this is the next step. We were never like, come on, at each step. We're pretty laid back about it all, hoping that it would work, obviously, because, it's a lot of work, especially for my wife. It was always sort of, look, if we can't do this, then we can travel a lot. We can, we've got careers, we've got,
Was there ever a point that you didn't want to have kids, or even in that process of thinking that you're going to have kids, that you worried about your own health? With CF, it's so unpredictable that, we can get sick at any time, and that could be the admission that leads to free admissions till who knows what could happen. Was that ever a thought that, having kids was risky, that, you might get sick and pass away, or that you won't be there, have the time that you want?
Let you take that one, James.
For me, no, never. My mentality through absolutely everything I've done is just, it's more, you're just dragging a bit away. It's not, you can't do this. It's not, I've got to think about that. It just makes everything a little, played my whole life, played footy, cricket, I've done water sports. There's nothing I haven't done that I haven't wanted to do. All it is just means that when you're running laps, you're at the back. Yeah, you got to go a little bit harder. You got to do all these sorts of things. When it comes to kids, well, just what I have to do. I have to get a big need on them. But I've never had that thought of, cause I always, along with my sickness, I suppose, in my whole life, when I know in myself, I'm starting to get a bit sick, right? I work hard, let's go, start running harder, start doing more meds, get into it. And you have your party years and stuff as well. So, it's doing that, right? Your party too hard, stop for a bit. Let's get back in the gym. Let's get back running again. Let's get yourself healthy back up again. So I've always had that mentality where I've sort of had a limitation on myself. and I've always gone out for what I've wanted, and I've got it. But it always has that bit of drag. But when it comes to kids and stuff, we've my partner and I, we've always loved kids. I've got a heap of nephews and nieces. So is my partner, and my partner's also a primary school and early learning teacher. So she loves kids. We're always going to have the kids and heaps of kids. So it was never, it was never a thought of mine for worrying on that sort of stuff, because it creates that negativity thoughts in my mind. But I don't want them there. Obviously, there are some things that are there, but I've always tried pushing out with positivity. So.
About the medical and social change, what medical and social changes that are there that you hope to see with IVF in the future? Start with you, James.
Well, with the tricatheter, like it's weird because they say the problem is with us is the tube never forms. That's why the sperm never comes out. So whether that's something that, and also some people's it's just blocked. So, I mean, how there isn't something that you can either maybe have the surgery and get something joined or something. I don't know. Surely there's some sort of, that's the next path to go down. But in the meantime, it's something that you don't do it to yourself. It's something that's you're born with. Surely there'd be some sort of way of getting IVF funding is probably one of the main things that'd be great, because it's not like we've done it to ourselves. It's something we're born with. So I think that's probably one of the main things that I would like to see in the future is a bit of funding, because it ain't cheap. That's for sure.
Yeah, I guess more awareness. We're just talking off camera about how I wish when I was younger I'd asked more questions at clinic and not just wanted to, get the hell out of there. Although, we do also have this funny thing with time that, when we're all given these life expectancies, we sort of, I know I got really funny about time and giving it to people. But yeah, I guess more messaging and more awareness that this is something that people can do, and it's not off the table like it used to be. I grew up thinking that I couldn't have kids at all. That's what I was told.
So now that you've had kids, you both, obviously Dave, you're very new. James, you're like ready to go for like 100 kids. Thing is, how do you envision balancing life as a parent with CF as you grow older? But I can tell that from both of you, you're very resilient people, and CF isn't gonna stop you at all. But do you have any other advice for any other young people who may not even think that they're able to have kids, or are thinking about doing the IVF process?
Well, I think the main motto that my partner and I have is just make life work for you. You can get yourself tied in a knot, and you can try and do these things or whatever, but it's just making life work for you. We recently changed a few things where we were living because we wanted to do a few different things, and we thought, well, what are we doing over here? Let's make life work for us, and downgraded. We downgraded all the unnecessary stupid things so that I could be working, have my wage, and my partner could be at home with the little one, and a day here and there with the grandparents. Is certainly one of the main things that because the stresses that come with obviously money is the biggest stressor, but yeah, just making life work for you. That's really got us through some tough times and some other fun times. So
yeah, I think again, sort of similar to that. One thing, when my wife was pregnant, I really consciously tried to get ready to relinquish control, which is hard for someone, I think, who loves stability and, love feeling like I'm in control of my illness. That really keeps me sane. I didn't want to feel like I was like ready to be a father to a newborn, because that sort of just felt like a bit of a trap. And you can't really be ready. Sort of just be open to it being hard. And that's really helped me a lot in the hard days. We're going on 8 weeks, and there's been a lot of pleasant surprises because of that, that outlook, I guess. And I think, it's there's a lot. I think for me, it's funny as well. There's a little bit of grief tied up in my excitement and my newfound fatherhood because my own dad passed away about a month before our daughter was born. So I'm spending a lot of time missing my own dad and thinking of him, what it would have been like to have a baby with CF, but just trying to be present. That's what all the books and podcasts and messaging sort of boils down to, is just, be present and meet them where they're at, which is a lot like caring for an elderly parent. Just meet them where they're at.
That's a beautiful thing. Even though I decided so long ago that I'd never have kids, I've always been the most clucky male that like anybody has ever known. Ever since when I was really little, when I was like 5, 6, I always found children so fascinating. When we went traveling, I'd always approach prams and try to talk to babies, and like even in the most weird places, like on a train in New York when I was like 6, and I've always had this attachment and understanding of children, even though I've accepted so young that I'd never have them. So I can imagine that
favorite uncle vibes.
That's it.
All my friends' the favorite uncle. I can only imagine, what you've both gone through. Being told, your life expectancy may not be so long, to then, coming through that acceptance of being, coming close to our 40s and having a longer life, and then bringing a life into the world. I can't imagine, probably anything more like gobsmacking and just breathtaking and interesting and scary at the same time.
Yeah.
It's very weird. Like even first, you turn into such your emotions really do come a lot more. Like I'm not afraid to admit it. Like I've cried more times than I have my whole life over this last year and a bit. Like when everything happened and you're doing, like my partner's doing 200 days of needles. You know what I mean? When you're doing all these things, the surgeries, the extra stuff that they had to have, to then you're going through this amazing thing, birth, and then all of a sudden you're at home and you got your little one in your arms, and you just like once you knew it was all good, and then you're at home, and then it's just the three of you, and then you're just like that moment of like half relaxation, a little bit of scaredom, but half relaxation. You're like, this has happened, this has worked, and you're just like, there it goes again, and then they're sitting there and they're watching the movie and they start singing along to Frozen, and you're like, right, there it goes again. But you can't help it because it's just something you just dreamed about happening, and then it's there, and you're like, right, let's have more. And then to the one day think that when you were young you just piss around, care about your own how you were or whatever, and then all of a sudden you get a partner, and then you start thinking then about IVF, and it works, and then one day, like with these medications, I could be a grandparent. And you're just like, what? Like, what do you mean? That's why I just love to give back and these sorts of things, because if it wasn't for, modern technology, science, all these different, I wouldn't have made it through the first day of my life. But, I'm here for 34 and I've got a daughter and plan to have more. So, yeah, I could go on that all day.
You mentioned something just then about the needles and that process that she had to go through from IVF. I'm sure
we weren't compatible at all. So we had to have a certain partner, had immune suppressants and all these different things to make sure her body was accepting it. So and not trying to kill it essentially. So that's what I was. Yeah.
And how did that affect your relationship?
It actually made us closer, because I was the one giving her the needles, and also, if you're looking at what you're putting your partner through because of you, like not because of her, because of you, you're the one that has it, and you're the one that has to do all these sorts of things, and make her. Well, essentially, she's the one who has to do everything because of you. It takes a bit of a strain on yourself, and then you just see the sacrifices that your partner's doing, for you to for all these sort of things. You just get closer and closer and closer. You just want to give them the world.
Did you have a similar experience, Dave?
We did, yeah. We, I was giving my wife the needles as well, and that just, in a weird way, felt really nice. Did sort of, it was a nice sort of thing at the end of, because you've got to do it at the same time every day. Would sort of alarm would go off, and we'd sit together, and we recorded it a couple of times, and it was I don't know if you do
Makes
that
a
as
fun
well.
video, doesn't
Yeah. I think it makes it all seem really real. That was real. It's weird to me that felt really real, more so than a lot of. It's crazy how when you have the baby, everything. I think I was waiting for this big fatherhood thing to just hit me, and it just every day has just been like, no, we're just doing this now. We just I'll just change the baby, and it's I've sort of been waiting for this huge whopping thing to hit me, and it's all felt so. I mean, amazing, and wow, but at the same time, really normal. Like, no, we've just got to do it now. So, she's crying. I'll give her a bottle. It's really funny. And that was just one of those things that was really like, wow.
What was your first experience when your child was born?
Well, the first year was a bit scary because she had to go get some oxygen for a bit, but that was But I'm one of 4 boys, so then having a girl when it came out, I was like, oh, it's a girl. We were just thought, it's a boy. It's got to be a boy, I was made all smitten, absolutely smitten straight away. And all I could see was my partner in her, which quickly changed. Now she's a dead ringer for me. Just walk out. You have such a long build up for it, and then we're in the hospital for 3 days. I think we were 3 days in before she even came, so we had a fair experience. But just straight away, absolute love. And she was a fighter and stuff like that. So we, as much as it was a bad one, at the same time it was amazing, and just loved them straight away.
What about you? What about yourself, Davey?
Yeah, I think my wife had a pretty quick labour. It was just 3.5 hours. They told us that we were in danger of having her in the car if we'd waited any longer. So I'm glad we didn't. I think the first thing was I was just in awe of my wife and the labour and what that was like, and how much she tried, and like how much she just pulled. That I was just really just beyond impressed. Doesn't touch it. I was just so awestruck by what she did to deliver the baby. And then when Charlie got put onto her chest, I was sort of really looking right at her, and her little eyes were just like wide open, and she was looking everywhere, and that was a real, really surreal. So like, oh my gosh, this is my daughter now. This is but again, like, well, now we'll take care of her. It was a funny it's the two prongs of like, oh my gosh, this isn't happening, but also no, it is, and we'll just go home tomorrow.
Wait till they sit up, and then wait till they start crawling.
Yeah,
and then they start saying words, and they start walking.
Yeah, I'm trying to get her on the words. She's a big talker already. None of it makes sense, but she's a big talker.
She communicates.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever spoken with anyone else with CF, to be honest. So
I'm actually on the board of Monash Medical Centre in Clayton here, on the advisory board. And we, once every couple of months, we have a meeting about how we can improve patients and doctors' relationships. Little things that can help throughout people and whatever. And it's a vast variety of, from young kids to adults and stuff. Some have CF, some are, people that are associated around CF, then you've got doctors and people like that. And one of the things, that I've sort of touched on here is that I've always had someone I can lean on. I can always talk to them about anything I want. They can, my brother, he'd grab me and throw me in my room and say, do your meds. you know what I mean? And so, like, you just sort of need those, or, you know, you might be having a little time where you're like, you know, you're just feeling a bit down, a bit crap or whatever, and you've got someone that can throw their arm around you and talk to you. But what we're trying to have is exactly what this is here, people who can just talk to other CF people, whether they're kids, you know, can you get them sort of in a similar, similar interests, because that obviously helps. Whether it can be gaming, you know, be playing a game and also talking, or, you know, the older ones who just might have a couple of questions, like anything, like even like what we've been going through. So it does actually, you know, because you've got so much common ground.
Yeah.
You know, everything, you know, you've got so many life experiences, and I think it'd be good for some of the kids just to chat about stuff. So this is one of the things that we're trying to implement.
It's hard to build a community when, you know, we can't physically get together. I often think it's so funny, you know, you see the like, you know, whether, CF Strong or, you know, whatever all the organizations, you know, they'll often have like a ball at the end. Like sometimes they have one of those once a month, and I always think, fuck, well, no one there's got CF.
Yeah. You know? Well, I mean, they might, mate. They might.
There's a couple. Yeah. There's a few.
I don't know.
But when I was in hospital at the Children's Hospital when I was young, there was up to 15 of us. You know, there was 12 of us, 6 beds, 2 rooms, in physio together, doing sport together, doing school together, cross-contamination together. Just want to thank you guys for coming along today to the podcast. And
thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Good to meet you both as well.
Yeah, so good to meet you guys.
Hello and welcome to the CF Together podcast. My name is Stephanie Quattromani. I head up support services, clinical care and medical research at CF Together. Today we are talking male fertility in CF. Now, before we begin, we're going to tackle the biggest misconception when it comes to male fertility in CF, which is that men living with CF cannot have biological children. This is absolutely not true. In fact, while 97 to 98% of men with CF are considered infertile, they are not sterile, which is a huge difference because that means that they can still have biological children with the help of assisted reproductive technology. So today we'll go through how fertility is impacted by CF and what are the options for men with CF who are wanting to start a family. Now, men with CF produce sperm in the testes, and infertility occurs actually because of the absence or the blockage of the sperm canal, which allows the sperm to make its way out of the testes where they're developed and out through the penis as part of the ejaculate. Now, this tube is called the vas deferens, and it's usually either missing or blocked. So if you look this up on Google or if you've heard about it in clinic, it's often called the congenital bilateral absence of the vas deferens, or BVAVD. Now, this very long acronym just essentially means that the tube has been missing or blocked since birth, which typically happens in men with CF. So this means that the sperm doesn't make it into the ejaculate, which makes it impossible to reach and fertilize an egg during sexual intercourse. Now, importantly, men with CF and who have the absence or blockage of this vas deferens can still get erections and can still ejaculate. Now, a very small percentage, about 2% of men with CF, will still have some sperm present in their ejaculate. So to find out which camp you are in, you can undergo a semen analysis, and that will tell you the number of the sperm, their ability to move, their size, their shape, and the volume of the ejaculate. So using contraception to prevent the possibility of an unplanned pregnancy may actually still be required. And of course, considering still the risk for sexually transmitted infections if condoms are not used during sex. Now, for men who are being worked up for a transplant or who are in the post-transplant period considering to start a family, it is important to talk with your transplant team about the effects of anti-rejection medications. These medications we know are incredibly important and incredibly useful post-transplant. However, some anti-rejection medications are linked to birth defects. So where possible, men may consider freezing and storing their sperm prior to undergoing a transplant or using a sperm donor. Now let's talk about assisted reproductive technology. Now, in the past few decades, this technology has evolved dramatically. And in fact, in 2021, over 5% of women who gave birth in Australia actually used some form of assisted reproductive technology. Now, for men with CF, the first intervention that's generally required is called testicular sperm aspiration or sperm retrieval. Now, this is a surgical procedure which retrieves sperm from the testicle or the epididymis, which sits just behind the testes. This procedure allows for the collection of sperm which otherwise couldn't make its way out of the testes due to the absence or blockage of the vas deferens. Now, this procedure is a day procedure. It costs usually about $700 to $800 in Australia, but there is usually a rebate available through Medicare, which can cover some of the cost. So once that sperm is collected through that procedure, there are then two options that can be explored to result in a pregnancy. The first is in vitro fertilization, or IVF. For IVF, the sperm is combined with an egg in a laboratory dish, fertilized, and the resulting embryo is then transferred into the uterus. So there are Medicare rebates available as well for IVF, and some may also be covered by private health insurance, but of course, costs differ dramatically by provider and also across states. The other procedure that may be considered is intrauterine insemination. This is a technique where a catheter is used to place a sperm inside a woman's uterus to facilitate fertilization. Now, this procedure is usually more affordable than IVF. The success rates are slightly lower, and it costs about $3,000 after a Medicare rebate. Now, importantly, speak to your CF team if you're wanting to start planning for a family, because they or your GP can make a referral to a fertility clinic that can offer you the procedures that you need. There are both public and private fertility clinics that are available in Australia, and there are so many different providers. So finding the one that's best for you will likely depend on your personal situation, how comfortable you feel with the clinic and their staff, their location, the type of fertility treatments and assessments that are offered, and of course, the cost. If you are considering going down this route, you can also get in touch with the support team at CF Together. Our social workers can go through what's called a benefits navigation service with you, which can help you navigate rebates that might be appropriate to your family's situation, such as, for example, the New South Wales Affordable IVF Initiative and others that are similar across the country, as well as other financial schemes, since we know the cost of going through these procedures is quite significant. Going down the pathway of fertility treatments can also be quite overwhelming, and you may have anxiety or uncertainty about what's coming next. Again, our team is here to support you and your family through this process. We have some amazing blogs and podcasts that you can take a look at on our website, which have some really lovely documentation of other people's fertility journey whilst living with CF. If you have any questions or just want to chat, feel free to always get in touch. You can contact us on our national support line, which is 1300 CF Help. I hope this podcast has been useful. If you like this format of quick-fire information sessions, please let us know in the comments, and thank you for joining us.
So, yeah, when I was small, I think I never went to one because my mum wasn't really a fan of it. But you could go to like CF camp, you know, all the kids just together, just cross infection.
Yeah.
Just like only CF kids at cat camp. You know, before they realised that it's not a great idea.
That, see how it goes.
Yeah.
But you just don't know, do you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You just find out what bugs people have, and you're like, oh, we got the same thing.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. When I was born, my mum was young, and she asked to meet a young person with CF, and so they had a guy, Greg, who was in his 20s. I think he was her age. That was you know, they wanted to take her to mother's group. She said, "No, I don't want to meet the mothers. I want to meet someone like, you know, who my son might be one day. I want him to tell me what happens. What's you know, what is this like?" Yeah. And back then they used to sleep in like a mist tent. You know, they used to take all sorts of pills that you would never take now because it'd be at a detriment. But yeah, it's funny, the advancements. The mist tents would make them sicker because it would capture all this water and that would get into your lungs. And yeah.
All right. If you'd like to share your thoughts or have suggested topics for the podcast, I'd love to hear them from you. Please drop me a line. If you enjoy listening to the CF Together podcast, don't forget to subscribe, rate and review. All information will be in the show notes. I've been your host, Raphael Rett. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.